Convoy 3 Gatherius 25 beings of universe in terms of classification, criteria and weights. What are the criteria for happiness, beauty and preference? And on what basis determines values of beings? For many of the concepts the being sets out from among us to describe an entity of himself as happy, or to describe an entity of another being as unhappy, ugly, or beautiful. Whether it is a human being at top of rationally sophisticated beings, or a stone among the most silent beings in a wandering between two dimensions, deepness of absolutely unconsciousness. Where degradation and where height of consciousness, where prospects and visualizations and rationalization. Panorama towards what beauty and happiness are. Every being has feelings and sense as will. However, will is a purely personal matter, while the desired element is subject to criteria inherent in immanence of applicant, according to his interest. Those are criteria of beauty which he has for the element that he means by his will, according to his importance to him, and size of its role in performing the tasks that he wanted it for. And here he enters preference factors upon selection to determine proportions of beauty of chosen elements when there are multiple desired elements. An importance of one exceeds the other or the others, according to his distinction or his superiority in performing the role that it be wanted for, and it may reach level of rarity. Whenever his likes became less or when there is no equivalent, and since preference is based on distinguishing between elements according to criteria, determined by the subjective capabilities of desired element according to the purpose or role that wanted it for, here role of mind does interfere. Because the mind is the one who distinguishes throughout his study and his knowledge of things, and when the one it achieves will of applicant, the applicant reaches a liking status. Then he feels by the happiness, according to what he has obtained from positive factors, according to his self-evaluation. Then that happiness reflects on his actions, behaviors and activities on those around him, so he will be described in human societies as who is a beautiful person in his behaviors and actions because he plays a direct role or indirect in achieving will of others, and so concepts of happiness, beauty, awareness and knowledge of things intertwine, and from here the definitions comes to what happiness and beauty are. That the beauty is a being laid in every being, and none of the five senses can reach it at all, and it is always normal for its elements to float for the sake of elegance above hunting traps and merchandise of marketing, and there is no worse trap than falling into world of the human being floated on his manifestations. Dazzling and attractive features when we talk about the victory and wealth that the Kalashnikov has brought to its creators and users, it looks like a nice tool. And when we talk about history of a seductive princess, she killed 600 girls and she bathed with their blood to look the most charming. Or when we look at the cobra snake while it is dancing without anyone approaching it, we will know meaning of beauty, but the happiness is simpler than anyone imagines. Because it may not exceed a person's understanding that life is one and not repeated, and that the human world is one only and nothing changes it for the better, only the happiness. And for the human being and any human being, only one requirement, he want to reach that is the happiness. Then to the definitions, what is happiness and what is beauty? Beauty and what is tenor of beauty? Beauty is product of an integration of natural and acquired creative qualities, elements, behavior and skills in their great quality level, and exceeds them in their entirety when its overall essence reach degree of excellence, and it controls the entity and embodies its personality in a positive level superior to the negatives, in the direction which establishes to it its considerable status in terms of practices, expressions and performance of tasks assigned to him naturally, which paint image of himself in front of others, and in world of universal existence. For example, when we talk about the most skilled football player in the world that is superior to all people, this just does not mean that he is a beautiful person, but that in the world of football, it may be zero in baseball and bad manners. Or when we talk about a girl with the consistency of her body substratum, svelte legs, consistently features of facial, she has hair flow like the waterfall. We are not talking about a beautiful human being, but we are talking about world of sexual temptations. It may be bad behavior, and mentally deranged, and poor memory. And she carries growing diseases and deficiencies in her genes. She cannot bear children, and thus her fate is the extinction, and therefore not valid for future of humanity. So that the creative skills and the visual sceneries are expressions of quality and distinction, and not the beauty. To let us ask, he is skilled at what? And the answer comes in the football. And what is benefit of his play football to him or for the others? Or the question comes, she distinct in what? And the answer comes, she has 2 large eyes and a slender waist. And what is benefit of her eyes and her waist for her and for the others? She may have nearsightedness or early hereditary blindness and cancer before the age of 40. So beauty is another thing and not these consumables on a personal level, for that you can decorate by whatever scenery you want to attract your lovers. And hope that you will not be a trap for those you attract them or attract disaster to you, while flutters on its visage flags of salvation for the things used by human. Our purposes which we measure the quality and beauty of it on them, but on what we measure the quality and beauty of human. On what measured quality and beauty of human? On his humanity, since the humanity is a stage of mental transcendence that progresses above the animal levels. However, standards of humanity are based on the mental ability to control the actions and activities of the body and its requirements, and to manage and employ it positively in the self-interest and the environmental interest, which constitute his world, so that it can be affected by him and he affected by it positively and negatively, whether from him towards the others or whether the opposite, as results and reactions of any activity carried out by any being that has a presence in the environment concerned, which requires consciousness and knowledge of what can be issued from others or itis issue leaves impact on others, and the knowledge and consciousness are from duties of mind. And since essence of meaning of human is concentrated in his mind, by which he transcended all beings, and throughout him he was able to advance by his world, to advantage development, improvement and change, and not in his body at all, then that the body in human plays an elementary and functional role, according to the specialized tasks of specific tools. It is possible to break down, disappear, or gradually decay, while the entity is remaining. But if this happens to the mind, this means end of whole entity of being. And the body tools cannot achieve any sound successes without interference from the mind. So, that beauty of human is not inherent in the tools of his body, but rather in his mind, how he thinks. What he thinks, what he knows, what is the extent of his awareness of himself and his destiny, and the world around him and its destiny, how he looks at the cosmic society and its future. What is his ability to be positive or negative being in this world, tools of human body, for each of them its quality according to the role it performs its own role in life of this being, whose purpose is to continue to exist in face of extinction, and to provide the best ways of life and peace through continuity march. Then it remains necessary to make good use of body tools in a manner that ensures a healthy life and communication between and with the others, those whose we cannot achieve continuity in the life and its welfare without them. On this basis, should to the individual as a personal responsibility, but we are obliged for life with others to refinement behavior and improve physical appearances, elegance and mastery of creativity and kindness in a way that raises admiration and tolerance in the hearts of others, in order to enhance means of communication between human beings, to ensure safety and continuity. The strongest swordsman in the battles of history can today be surpassed by a young child from any distance on the earth, planet, or outside with the push of a button. We are not in need of his muscles today, but he can get a golden belt in one of the boxing halls, and if he does not master boxing, his muscles are useless. In the thousands of the world's most seductive and attractive women with their glamorous appearances in 5-star hotels every year, where millions of dollars are poured on them, Today they will not be worth value of one nurse from any tribe in the world stays up all her night at hospitals crowded with hundreds of billionaires in recovery rooms in the time of Corona. So, beauty is a moral being that lies in our rational selves when its moment comes. So exists happiness innocent in the others around us. So what is the happiness? What is the happiness and what is tenor of happiness? Happiness in its most accurate form is feeling safe and secure, and the resulting expression as a reaction to them. That embodiment for the self-image of ego, the acceptor and the guarantor of his condition and his destiny, through the endless confidence in others around us. That which may achieve psychological stability for members of society, then did not exist or even looming on the horizon what may cause anxiety and distrust. Which leaves the opportunity for grinning to embody on the person's face, and the grinning sweeping the faces of everyone. Because any of them feels the safety and security inherent in the other's being. We continue. You may not imagine that happiness is like a mirage, but it is a realistic fact. Whenever we reach the outskirts of its countryside, its populous cities loom before us in dreams, then we continue to pursue it in search of well-being in the Utopia City. But the Utopia City is the one which seemed on horizons of first sophists and philosophers for more than 5,000 years. They drew it first and left it on the horizons. And then came after them those who called it the paradise, since the half-life of that time, the lost paradise. It doesn't be only the Utopia City, which many of our ancestors passed through its streets throughout history, and the grandchildren are still searching for the ghost of a virtuous city waving at the horizons. While they have reached the heart of that city itself since decades, but the preoccupation of any of them with his conditions, his feet steps, his path, and his personal dreams, prevented paying attention to what around them. If each of us turns to those around him, carefully checking their conditions, in their eyes he saw the landmarks of the Utopia City, and he felt happy. So happiness is not achieved in personal isolation, far from the sorrows of those around us without caring for the conditions of others. We continue, and some of us may ask, and why do I not live my happiness in isolation, away from disturbance of people? The matter is simple. Imagine that you are alone, and you have everything you may desire. And in a forest laden with wild animals, or in a barren desert, nothing splits its silence, only creak of wind, and you have to sleep all right, quiet mind, exposed chest, and reassured heart. And remember that one human being disgruntled from the forest and what are in it, able to trouble shelters of its fierce monsters, and prevent their rights to life and not only sleep. So you will not be happy to sleep there, and you will spend your life awake, anxious and frightened. So where is the happiness of in the midst of fear? So, the feeling of personal security, which it creates social happiness, it is what is known as the 5 elements of the national security strategy. At the level of country's policy, however, it is based up from the narrow family issues and individual particular requirements in these requirements that the individual can achieve through the confidence which expressed to him and inherently others around him, because himself is guaranteed by him, also he is able for express for the others. With what let them feel that he is present, and he will do what he can when they need him. But how do we make the ego self see itself in others around it to feel the endless confidence? Then feel happiness, and thus the entire human world becomes a moving mirror. Each of us is afraid to smash him inside the other, but rather seeks to make it more luminous, to see himself in it clearly. Each of us searches in form of other, from including this, to see how effective his elements, beauty of himself in him, creates factors of mutual considerations between the parties, which grow whenever any of parties tries to see his view clearly by making the other brighter. That these serious attempts from all the parties in order to polish the other, to reflect image of ego clearly, its result will be the admiration and the happiness on all parties, because each of them does the same thing at the same time for the same purpose. so that the beautiful makes the beauty wherever you go, and however that beauty is source of happiness, the happiness will prevail there, so we cannot consider the things are beautiful through seeing them by one sense only. It is the eye, but even when its range reaches all the senses, and the mind classify it, or we can't identify between the bitter melon and watermelon. And we said that both of them won, in terms of scenery and appearance. And at the conclusion of this version of our programs, the appearance and the scenery, although they're very necessary, so that we distinguish between male and female in terms of the physical nature, because one of them leaves of humanity and the other is flowers. If we assume that the world is a rugged, dense and crowded forest, and that the humanity is a beautiful field in it, while every human family is a tree blessed with its fresh leaves and exquisite with its wonderful flowers, breathtaking scenery and appearances, and for as long as the females are the flowers of humanity, then that the flowers in their nature are not be hidden and not be covered from the sunlight, but rather must be given the opportunity which to unleash its finest scenes and its manifestations, even though that which they seemed for the visions, it doesn't the beauty, but it create the beauty in its workers, so it rebirths spirit of happiness in their insides, which in turn implements factors of preserving sources of beauty, so he seeks from his side to revive happiness in it. This state that remains mutual by virtue of nature inherent in our depths. And so we in the Unicom Creed see that flaunt of females and their stunning views in their decoration and manifestations. Unless they harm them or harm others around them healthily, they should not be hidden or covered or prevent, because they are natural factors and personal necessities for the females, but rather must be preserved for the sake of the life process of mankind, according to what does not negatively affect it and achieve its happiness, without which there is no happiness for others. So let her shine like the sun. She always shines for us and does not burn us, and if it glows, then this is its natural state, so whoever is subject to burning has to hide in the shadows, and not she. Is over. Hello, and until we meet in future releases in the footsteps of Conda 2020.